Welcome back to Court TV Live. The verdict in the case against Luke Truesdell is in. A jury in Iowa spent over 3 days, basically 13 hours, 12 hours, 54 minutes to come to this decision, but they have come to a unanimous verdict, and now we're just waiting for all the parties to assemble, and we will watch it unfold together.
Yeah, 4 victims in this case, so they did have a lot of evidence to look through. There was surveillance video, there was body camera footage, DNA evidence. Defense counsel did not put on any witnesses. We did not hear from the defendant except to hear his own words on that body camera footage, although it was a bit hard to hear because of all that wind noise. Yeah,
and according to the arresting officers, he was on meth, and along with all of the victims too, were consuming meth at the time. And it happened in this rural area, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and it was a massacre with a lead pipe. And according to the state, the defendant acknowledged that he was the person that did it and wanted to do it to, quote, make a movie. The jury has decided. Let's bring in Philip DeBay as we wait for the verdict to be published. That's a live look inside the courtroom with the ornate clock. As soon as our camera moves, that means that there is action in the courtroom. Philip, overall thoughts?
Well, I'm disheartened that they didn't call anybody to the stand, because this state has an interesting sort of definition of the not guilty by reason of insanity rule when you voluntarily intoxicate yourself with drugs. I mean, normally voluntary intoxication is not a defense even to insanity. However, they've made a carve out in the law where you have long-term chronic use that, independent of ingestion, has caused damage to the brain and to the synapses that register between the brain and human logic and reasoning. That is deemed to be a settled mental illness. And I'm really surprised that they didn't put something on unless they couldn't find an expert to opine that. But it's not looking good for him. You have 4 dead people, they have the pipe, and they have his admission, and that's it. Yeah. At least call someone to the stand to corroborate his version. Otherwise, I'd be shocked if he walks away from this.
His DNA evidence on that pipe. You know, when investigators first showed up at the scene, a lot of people were thinking, okay, this is maybe carbon monoxide poisoning. You're in this detached garage, you have so many victims. People thought, okay, they died from carbon monoxide poisoning. And then they started to see and thought, well, people do not look like that from carbon monoxide poisoning. Philip, kind of talk about the impact, like seeing images like we were talking about before for a jury. It's hard for them to be a part of a case like this.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, this happened in a garage workshop. This could be anybody's home, in the backyard where you're just having fun with some friends, hanging out, and before you know it, some madman comes in there with a lead pipe and starts whacking everybody. But what I find really interesting is that when you look at the ages of all the victims, I think Amanda was 33, Mr. Cooper was 44, Keonna was 26, and Brent was 34. You would think that maybe 1 or 2 could break away and tackle the man. So it sounds to me that he had some type of Herculean strength from a meth-induced form of psychosis, where it's just this sort of paranormal strength that was just so uncontrollable that even these 4 victims could not take him down, or at least 1 or 2 of them. So it's not looking good for him, and unfortunately all 4 succumbed to that injury, to those injuries.
Yeah, it's a good point, yeah, that nobody was able to at least evade or get away, because the amount of blows that each victim sustained was significant. That's just from a practical timing standpoint. You would think that would offer somebody a getaway, or jump in and help to deflect and restrain but it didn't happen. So maybe it was the meth-infueled strength. There's a look at the defendant here. He's walked in. The defense, you remember, sort of, you know, pointed towards his father, a guy by the name of Larry Truesdell, who was at the farm, or the property when this took place. He was seen on video, and then he didn't testify, and the defense made a big deal out of this. The state wanted, of course, to have him testify, but he went on the lam. He's missing. In fact, they're looking for Larry, the dad, right now. Did that factor in here for the amount of time of deliberation? it could have been a factor. There you see the thumbs up. Sounds like they are ready to get the judge on the bench, and then next step, of course, will be to bring in the jury. The dad, Philip, red herring?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a heavy lift to say that dad killed these 4 people. And what would possibly be the motive? What? Because they're just sitting around in his garage having a good time?
No, it wasn't even his garage. It was another guy's garage, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, or even in defense of a third party's property, I don't think you need to club 4 people to get your point across. You could have called 911 or said, hey, can I help you? Or who's in there? Or come out with your hands up, something like that. You didn't have to kill all 4 people. This was clearly an act of rage. And we see these when you have a past beef with someone, or if it's a domestic relation, or if it's drug fueled. And my money goes on the drug fueled type psychosis where he flailed and acted out and just was out of control. And unfortunately, 4 young, vibrant souls lost their lives.
Yeah, their names: Brent Brown, Amanda Parker, 33 years old, Amanda, Romondus Cooper, 44, Keonna Ryan, 26 years old. Let's go in. The judge has taken the bench.
Have a seat, please. We are on the record in the state of Iowa versus Luke Truesdell, case IBCR 154-866. We are here in the presence of the jury, Monica Slaughter and Jordan Shearer here for the state of Iowa, and Patrick McMullen, Samantha McCourt, and Adrian Houghton are here for the defendant, who is personally present and seated in the courtroom. I have been informed that the jury has reached a verdict. Who is the foreperson?
I don't know.
All right. Has the jury reached a unanimous verdict?
We have.
All right. Can you please hand the envelope to Aaron? Thank you. Defendant, please stand. For count 1, victim Keonna Victoria Ryan, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree. For count 2, Romondus Cooper, We, the jury, found the defendant guilty of murder in the second degree. For count 3, Amanda Sue Parker, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree. For count 4, Brent Anthony Brown, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree. Foreperson, is this the jury's verdict? It is. All right, I want to make sure that this is a true and correct verdict, and the defense, you may have a seat, please. So let me ask you to make sure for count 1, can I see a show of hands if your true and correct verdict is murder in the first degree for count 1? Please raise your hand. Okay, I see everyone's hands raised. For count 2, is your true and correct verdict murder in the second degree? If so, please raise your hand. I see all hands are raised. For count 3, is your true and correct verdict murder in the first degree? Please raise your hand if it is. I see everyone's hands raised. And for count 4, is your true and correct verdict murder in the first degree? Please raise your hand if it is. And I see everyone's hands raised. Members of the jury, this will conclude your service in this case. I want to thank you for your time and attention in this matter. As I said at the start, jury duty is a duty and a privilege, and the court thanks you for your service. At this time, is there any further record before I excuse the jury? State of Iowa.
Not the state of Iowa.
Defense.
No.
All right, at this time, I'm going to excuse you, and you will be discharged from jury duty. I have a few matters to take up with the attorneys here, but I will be back in the jury room shortly and would be able to speak to you if any of you would like that opportunity. You are free to leave, however, and you are not required to leave for any reason. In addition, the prohibitions I discussed earlier regarding talking about this case and reading anything in the news regarding this case no longer apply. You are free to discuss this case with others, and it is possible the attorneys in the case may ask to speak with you. Whether or not you speak with them is entirely up to you. And if you tell them you do not want to speak with them, they will not ask you a second time. So at this time, I'm discharging you from your...
Okay, there you have it. Luke Truesdell found guilty of all 4 murders, but on the second count, he was found guilty of second-degree murder, not first-degree murder. Let's get reaction from Philip DeBay. Philip, I mean, we didn't cover this trial gavel to gavel, so clearly maybe this individual walked into the fight or something, and that may be why it took so long. Correct. What's your overall reaction?
First of all, this was a tall, steep mountain to climb. I mean, he clearly walked into what we call a pitched battle with a lead pipe. It sounds to me as if maybe 1 or 2 could have been a last-minute target within all his rage, that he had some type of fixed delusional belief that maybe 2 or 3 were out to get him, and then this 4th one was merely trying to break it up, and then sort of ancillary to the whole incident, that person got killed. So that would be second degree.
Makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. It's an interesting verdict to say the least. But guilty first degree on 3 of the 4 counts, and then count 2, second degree.
Yep. Philip, thank you.